In the previous videos, I've mentioned how to sort of use reverb in your compositions, and I've sort of just touched on this. Now, in this video, I want to go into this in more detail and show you how to use reverbs in these type of compositions. Now, with these projects, you're probably going to be using a lot of different sample library instruments that have been recorded in different rooms using different mics. So lumping them all together, they're going to sound a bit discoherent. So a way to bring them all together is to use reverbs to place them in the same place. And what I found that works is to use two reverbs, one with a short reverb time and another with a long reverb time. So the shorter reverb can act as if it's the early reflections of the sound. And the second reverb can be the long reflections, like the sound of the tail of the reverb going out. And also, halls or concert hall presets on reverbs work the best, as most of these instruments are being recorded in big halls to give that epic feel. Now, let's go over the types of reverbs that I've used. On this first bus channel, I've used an instance of Logic's Reverb, and this is an algorithmic reverb, meaning it generates the reverb sound of the space, and it's generating the sound of a concert hall. It's got a short decay sound of about 0.8 seconds, and the wet dial, I haven't set it all the way. I've just kept it a little bit down at about 75%. So let's take a listen to what this reverb sounds like. I've got this piano track here that's quite dry. Let me just increase the volume. And let's play back. And then let's add some reverb. This is going to the early reflection. And then dry. Awesome. So you can hear how just adding that reverb gives a sense of a space that it adds to the sound. And it's not a long reverb, so you can just hear as you push it quite far, you're getting that more sense of a space. And then on the second reverb, I've used Lexicon's Concert Hall patch. And this is a great plugin that emulates the sound of concert halls. It's also an algorithmic reverb, but it's got a longer reverb time of 2.2 seconds. And the mix style I've set all the way to 100%. You can also use convolution reverbs. For example, this is Logic's Space Designer that has impulses that can be loaded in. So for example, this is a piano hall with a reverb time of 2.3 seconds that's been loaded in. And the benefit of these types of reverbs is that these are actual spaces that you're imparting on your sound. But there's nothing wrong with an algorithmic reverb, especially like this one by Lexicon, that's using very high quality algorithms to generate these room sounds. So let's take a listen to this patch. I'm going to pull the first reverb down, play the piano back dry, and then send to the second reverb. You can hear the tail is much longer on the sound. And let's just compare this with an algorithmic reverb. So here is Space Designer. Not a bad reverb either. And compared to the Lexicon. And personally, I just prefer this Lexicon Concert Hall, so I'm going to stick with that. And you can see going through all my tracks, I've placed different amounts of reverb. And the reason for that is the more reverb you put on a sound, the more you're pushing it back in the room. Now, what's good to check out is an example of an orchestral seating plan. So you can pan and place your instruments far back or closer to the listener in the mix. So here's a seating plan that I just pulled up from doing a little Google search. You can go into Google and type seating plan or seating chart and get a very similar thing. It's depicting where the conductor is, which is you, the listener. And then this is showing the panning of the instruments. And the further back that the instrument is, the more reverb that you'll need to place on it to push it back. So for example, the first violins span this whole area and they're all the way on the left. Then the cellos on the right. But the trombones, these are slightly to the right and pushed further back. So you'll have more reverb placed on these. So with the orchestral elements in your project, definitely use a seating plan like this to get the most accurate placing of your instruments. Now, just the one thing, The basses are meant to be placed to the right, but I find having this low instrument placed all the way to the right just unbalances the mix. So generally with low instruments like this, like the double basses, I place in the center just to balance it. And then the rest of the instruments, I pan accordingly to the seating plan. And then I just use reverb to push them back if I want them further in the room. So just use this as an example. So that just gives you an idea on how to use reverbs. So what I suggest is using 2 reverbs, one with a short reverb time and then one with a longer one, and use these to place your instruments in their virtual space. Use more reverb to push them further back in the mix, and then use the panning to get the correct seating of each instrument. Cool. So that covers how to use reverbs in your compositions. Now, next, let's take a look at how to add some choirs in.